Hello, so today I'm just going to do a quick video on the recent crash of the China Eastern 737. So just today, March 21st, 2022, for those who will be watching this later, a China Eastern Airlines plane crashed while on, flying from there to there. Crashed in a very sudden and rapid descent, killing presumably all 132 on board. There have currently been no survivors reported as of this taping. So what do we know? So the aircraft is a 6-year-old 737-800 series. That's part of the previous generation, the next generation, quote-unquote, third-gen 737, not the fourth-gen's MAX that have been in the news recently for crashing due to poorly designed autopilot systems. We know that it crashed very suddenly and rapidly. There was, and I don't have the picture on here, but pretty much went from cruising to all of a sudden, not so much a nosedive, but yet definitely a steep dive, 20,000 feet per minute. That's pretty fast if you consider how much fast that is in miles per hour. Just on top of my head, it's about 240 downward force. It did crash while in dive, as we can kind of see, and this looks like it's almost crashing straight down. There were reports of apparently some eyewitness saying it was about 35-degree crash. When you kind of look at the crash, it does look like it did have some forward momentum. These are just kind of limited pictures, so feel free to look more as your own. The plane disintegrated on impact and left a large fire. Now, the fire is actually very important for the investigative purposes because it means that there was definitely a decent amount of fuel on board the aircraft. Most aircraft today are largely fireproof, but to have that spread like that, it probably meant that when the plane crashed, the wing tanks just absolutely exploded, spewing fuel everywhere, causing this large fire. So now on to kind of some general assumptions. Now, in this, the first one, that's why I put mostly, is it is reported that there is debris scattered about, but when you look at the picture, it looks like it's not in, chunked up, or you don't have the tail in one part, the cockpit and other wings flying off every direction. And it's kind of hard to see. You can see that there is the tail. If you look at, you look on the site, you can actually see a little better. This is a smaller image. But yeah, we do know that it looked roughly intact. So I'm going to go on a limb and say, and kind of that goes back to the fire thing, but yeah, wings are still on the aircraft. It could have been, in here, this looks like it's potentially wing tip. So the wing tips could have sheared off. That also could have been from the dive itself, not so much what caused it. We do not hear any radio calls going out reporting an issue with the aircraft. Again, the sudden nature of it could have been, and again, that could have, the sudden whatever event caused this could have in theory cut off the radio, so the pilots did not have time to make a call out, make a response. Back to what I was kind of saying earlier with the debris scattered about, it does look like there's potential for some sort of breakup. Maybe this, if this debris had gone down with the main aircraft itself, it probably would have disintegrated with the rest of it. But again, we don't know exactly what this is. We are going to say this, potentially wing tips just sheared off the aircraft due to the high rate of descent. So possible scenarios and causes. So going from the top, pilot error, what could be. Now, this looks pretty, we don't really, a plane flying at, cruising altitude is generally not going to be going through any major changes. As long as I was aware of, I don't think it was preparing to descend. It already would have probably, given its cruising altitude, it probably wasn't even, would not have been getting configured for landing. So you don't have that. So this looks like a situation of there's potential controlled flight into terrain, or potentially uncontrolled flight in terrain too, but that gets more to the mechanical issue. So it's did the pilots, make a mistake, whether it be make a mistake or an intentional act. Like I said, we've seen this before with German wings and other situations where pilots, for whatever reason, or potential other parties on board would like to crash the aircraft. Given it just kind of happened, in the middle of the flight, there's, potentially, and again, this isn't too much to speculate, but, potential chance of one pilot said, hey, I want to end things, waited for the other pilot to get out of the cockpit, and then, took his act. That has happened before, and, potentially can happen again. That's happened multiple times. I think that was the German wings, and there was a few other crashes that had caused that. So, on to that. Unintentional potential loss of spatial awareness. I'm not so sure about this one. I mean, again, given that it was at altitude, it's going to be on autopilot. I don't think the pilots really would have done anything. Again, that goes in the next one of improper configuration of the aircraft. I doubt they, unless, one of them accidentally, I don't know, hit some buttons that did some things. Again, I'm not a pilot expert, but it seems like if a pilot's, a plane at crazy altitude generally is not going to crash unless there's some sort of major catastrophic event outside of, intentional action. So I don't think there's really anything else the pilots could have done. Now, mechanical issues, and these are just kind of addressing major ones, is engine failure. I don't think that would have directly caused this. If it was an engine failure, you would have probably gotten call-outs. You wouldn't have been all of a sudden the plane just goes into an absolute nosedive, that kind of thing. The second one, I think, so I would say probably most likely is some sort of controlled flight into terrain or in-flight breakup right now. As it seems, as we see there are parts scattered about. I don't know where they were reported. If they were far from the crash site, potentially direct, roughly in the area of where it first was, started to descend versus around where it crashed. There's that potential, though. Then again, given it was very, very sudden, I don't know how much ground this thing covered well in its dive. So it could be hard to determine that. Other potential issue would be control failure, where, something happened where the control systems of the aircraft failed. There has been issues. I mean, it's not anything new. And this is why I kind of lean against this one of, potentially some sort of control things get switched or whatever happens where there's the plane forces a nose down due to improper, whether it be a maintenance thing where the jacks are on the tail fails or something like that, where something potentially could cause them to lose that kind of vertical control. Now, in terms of engineering, because again, people will say, "Oh, Boeing aircraft 737, it crashed." Oh, got to address this one. Rogue autopilot. Not really sure about this one. The 737-800 does not have MCAS. As the maneuvering characteristics augmentation system, which was the cause of the 2 MAX crashes, where, for those who, again, just a little bit of a refresher, the MCAS was a system to prevent the aircraft from nosing up too steeply due to just the flight characteristics of the aircraft that had the potential for that, in particular due to a single failure system where if one sensor failed, the MCAS could potentially falsely trigger, forcing the nose down, like that. Now, again, looking at this, it's oh, there is the option a lot of people jump to. I would not think so. This is a 737-800. I'm unaware of any systems like that on this aircraft. So that is it. Please, if you, I would love to hear people's thoughts, speculations, theories, Was it a UFO? I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, in this situation, it seems like it's probably either some sort of intentional pilot act, I would lean towards, or in-flight breakup, I would say probably be the most likely. I'm not really sure of anything else that would have really potential cause of this, given it was at cruising altitude. Cruising altitude, just general rule of failure is similar to an object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object in a given state tends to stay in that given state. So unless something catastrophic happened to the aircraft, or pilots detract some sort of crazy drastic action, I'm not so sure this would have happened. So I feel it's got to be one of those two. So thank you very much for listening to me speak on about this, and I'll be curious to again hear your thoughts. I'm going to be following this, so I'll probably have follow up in the next few days for whatever this potentially could be, what we hear. I would love to see black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, see if there's anything we can discern from that. And as more and more facts come out, I will definitely keep you informed. Thanks for watching.